Jonathan Lee Riches Investigates. I am covering the Moscow, Idaho Bryan Kohberger case. No proof. No proof. The Bryan Kohberger case got no proof. But when I say no proof, you might think, oh, yes, no proof that Bryan Kohberger is guilty. No. There is no proof that Bryan Kohberger didn't do this crime. Let's walk. Let's talk. There is no proof out there that Bryan Kohberger didn't do the crime, right? And we're talking about Bryan Kohberger being arrested in connection with the 4 stabbings of 4 innocent college students, November 13th, 2022. No proof that Bryan Kohberger didn't do it. I believe the prosecution has lots of proof Bryan Kohberger did it. 1, Bryan Kohberger did not show any proof he wasn't at that 1122 King Road. None. No alibi, folks. No alibi. Number 2, Bryan Kohberger has shown no proof that his white Hyundai Elantra wasn't at 1122 King Road during the time of the murders. Number 3, Bryan Kohberger shown no proof his white Hyundai Elantra wasn't at 1122 King Road the night of the murders. What the prosecution will be able to prove is Bryan Kohberger was at 1122 King Road during the murders. What the prosecution will be able to prove is Bryan Kohberger's phone was at 1122 King Road during the early morning hours of the murder. What the prosecution will be able to do is prove that Bryan Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra was at 1122 King Road during the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The murders. Now, I want to show you something. I want to show you something right here. This was in a Facebook group, right? And people are talking about Bryan Kohberger hasn't shown any proof that he's not involved. And I concur with that. And I'm sure a lot of you will probably concur with that. Because there is some people out there, and I don't know why they feel this way, that Bryan Kohberger's innocent. But he hasn't shown any reason why he's innocent. He hasn't shown a shred of evidence about his innocence. He hasn't shown any witnesses that can come forward and say Bryan Kohberger's innocent. He can't even explain DNA, his DNA, on a knife sheath that was found by Madison Mogen's body. But here's something interesting, and I want to share this with you. Walk with me. Let's talk. I have a question for the ones that are so adamant that Bryan Kohberger is innocent. After all this is a discussion group, because this came from a Facebook discussion group. I love these Facebook groups when it comes to the Moscow, Idaho case, because people use a lot of logic. There's people in there that use a lot of illogic, like the Bryan Kohberger is innocent illogic. But we'll keep going on. Why are you so dead set on his innocence? Is it because you don't feel there's enough evidence pointing to him? If so, what about the fact that there isn't any evidence pointing to anyone else either? None. None. No evidence whatsoever pointing to anyone else. What are you going to say? The glove found outside is the person that did it, or some unknown male DNA in a party house could have done it? There's no other evidence out there. There is basically no evidence out there to prove that anyone else is involved. Let's go on. If so, what about the fact that there isn't any evidence pointing to anyone else? I mean, somebody did it, right? There's a killer on the loose. If Bryan Kohberger didn't do it, there got to be a killer on the loose, right? Everyone should have their doors locked. And everyone should be putting flyers out there saying, wanted, murder, 1122 King Road, November 13th, there's a killer on the loose. Nobody's doing it. Not even in the Kohberger side of the camp. Not even the Kohberger defenders are putting out flyers saying, oh, there's a killer on the loose. Someone did this. Not Bryan Kohberger. Because there's no other person that did it. There's no evidence showing that someone else did it. The affidavit of probable cause speaks for itself. Lots of circumstantial evidence and direct evidence. Direct evidence with the knife sheath, and there will most likely be more direct evidence when it gets revealed at trial. Right now, 10 supplemental requests for discovery under seal under seal. Prosecutor seals it to protect the integrity of the investigation. The Bryan Kohberger defense wants it sealed, right? Exhibits. I saw exhibit G, H, I. We'll probably go all the way through the alphabet with exhibits. Evidence pointing to Bryan Kohberger that he did do it. Nothing exculpatory for Bryan Kohberger that he didn't do it. No proof that Bryan Kohberger didn't do this crime. Let's go on. So you believe someone else could have done this without leaving much evidence, but you think Bryan Kohberger couldn't have done this without leaving much evidence. You get what I'm saying? I don't understand this. Bryan Kohberger absolutely cannot be ruled out based on all the things that point to him. DNA, sketchy alibi, won't enter a plea. But yet some of you refuse to see it as it is. You act like you personally know him. You act like you personally know him and can vouch for his character and capabilities. None of you knew about Bryan Kohberger prior to November 13, 2022. Nobody knew about, no one knew about Bryan Kohberger before he was arrested. December 30th, 2022. You never heard of him. Now you suddenly want to say, I declare his innocence. He's innocent. And you don't even know him about a can of beans. You know nothing about him. You don't know nothing about him. So I find that interesting too. You want to put faith and trust in the law enforcement, and they have a lot of proof Bryan Kohberger done this crime. But Bryan Kohberger shows no proof he didn't do the crime. Also, do you know any of you know him personally? Right? Probably not. It's just mostly people on social media, on some of these weird content creators out there that proclaim his innocence, right? People on Twitter but don't know him. There has been yet anyone in the Bryan Kohberger case to say that he's innocent. No one personally has stepped to the plate. Not his mom, not his dad, not his sister, not anyone else. None of his relatives, nobody in Vegas, nobody. None of his friends, nobody from Albrightsville, nobody from Everett, PA, nobody from the Pullman office where he was working, nobody from the sales, nobody has come forward and said Bryan Kohberger's innocent. Zero, folks, zero. Prosecution says they have proof that he did it. Bryan Kohberger has no proof he didn't do it. How can you be all certain he didn't do it when there is no evidence pointing to anyone else? Just theories. So I want to talk to you about that because, hey, Bryan Kohberger is sitting in jail. An innocent person wouldn't want to waive their rights and want to just sit in jail. It's almost a year now, folks, since Bryan Kohberger got arrested. Almost a year. We're talking close to 11 months. Would you want to sit in jail for 11 months for a crime you didn't do? If you didn't do this crime and you were accused of this crime, what would be your behavior? What would be your behavior if you didn't do this? Wouldn't you be waving the flag and wailing and putting your arms up and screaming and yelling and hollering, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent? Instead, standing silent. Instead, waiving your right to a speedy trial. Therefore, giving consent that you are going to be innocent, but you're going to sit in jail indefinitely. Long time, while you remain silent. And you have public defenders while your family remains silent. Bryan Kohberger, what do you think? Does any of what I said make sense? Do you feel he's innocent or guilty? But he hasn't shown no proof that he did not do this crime, this horrific crime. Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button. I am JLR Investigates, covering this case at all angles, bringing logic to this case. If you feel I said something that's not right, wrong, or you feel something different than what I said, please comment. We're covering this case, and check out my playlist. Got almost 1,000 videos up at all angles. No stone left unturned. Court cases, and we'll be there. We will be there at his trial, watching every single move, watching everything his defense files, and showing justice for the victims from this horrible tragedy. We will talk soon. Stay tuned.